The NFL now has a 7th seed in the playoffs for both the AFC and NFC. This will allow teams with winning records to make the playoffs more consistently, especially in tough divisions. NFL history will continue to rewrite itself along with these new playoff scenarios, which would make it a wonderful time to revisit teams with the best record to not make the playoffs. In 1978, the NFL expanded its regular season games from 14 games to 16 games. We will mostly look at the modern NFL with the 16-game format. I think you young sahabs do not care about old school football anyways. Also, I will mention Washington football team's old name. If you're a Caucasian person and offended by that, please leave this video now. If you have a 10-6 record in the NFL, that should be plenty good enough to make it to the postseason, right? Well, NFL teams miss the playoffs quite frequently with this record. Up to date, a total of 21 NFL teams has not made the playoffs at 10-6. To put this in perspective, this occurs about every other season since the beginning of the 16-game NFL format. On a side note, the Panthers and the Rams never missed the playoffs with a winning record. The Redskins missed the playoffs a record 3 times with a 10-6 record, followed by the Eagles and the Giants, who did it 2 times each. The NFC East tends to be the most competitive and elite division according to NFL history. Ironically, the recent 2019 and 2020 seasons nicknamed the NFC East the NFC least by fans, and this recency bias is one of the many reasons for the 7th seed team expansion in the NFL playoffs. Although a decade ago in 2010, the Seattle Seahawks became the first and only losing team to make the playoffs with a 7-9 record. Since 1978, only 2 teams were unable to make the playoffs with an 11-5 record. These teams won 69% of their games. That's like having an NBA team with a 56-26 record, or an MLB team with a 111-51 record not make the playoffs. So saying these teams got snubbed is an understatement. John Elway's 1985 Broncos became the first team in NFL history to not make the playoffs with an 11-5 record. Although I describe this as a travesty, we also have to consider that in 1985, only 5 teams from each conference could make the playoffs. There were only 3 divisions in each conference, with the usual 2 wildcard spots. The New York Jets and New England Patriots had the tiebreaker over the Denver Broncos because they had a better AFC conference record. Elway was a sad panda, but fortunately they were able to make it to the Super Bowl the next season, only to fall short to the New York Giants, 39-20. 2008 New England Patriots became the 2nd team in NFL history to not make the playoffs with an 11-5 record. They lost their division to the Miami Dolphins, who had the same record, but the Patriots had a worse conference record. They also lost their wildcard tiebreaker to the Baltimore Ravens for the same reason. The Indianapolis Colts were a 12-4 5th seed wildcard team. The San Diego Chargers had by far the worst AFC record to make the playoffs that season at 8-8, but they won their division. The Patriots missed the playoffs 7 times with a winning record, making it the most out of any franchise. This video is brought to you by geckos. They make adorable pets.